And we got a submitted user question just a little bit ago. And this question comes from an anonymous user. And the question is, what if I don't want to be in control? And for those that are listening in right now, we've talked quite a bit about taking control back in our lives for things that are taking control away from us, making sure we focus on intrinsic value and intrinsic purposes versus extrinsic. But this question asks, what if I don't want to be in control? And John, I'd love to hear, I'd love to pay you a penny for your thoughts on that one.
Keep your penny, my friend. I have many a thought, and I don't come that cheaply.
Okay.
First off, I'd say thank you to the person who submitted the question. And it's a really good question. So there's a thing with humans and control, and that we need a degree of it, and too much of it becomes problematic. There's a perfect little window where you want to have the right amount. So for instance, I want to be able to go somewhere of my own volition today. I want to be able to choose like what I eat or something like that. I want to be able to feel safe and do things that make me feel rewarded. There's a thing for people who feel like they have too much responsibility. Fun fact, one of the first, sidebar, whenever I say fun fact, it's not about to be fun. But one of...
I can verify this, listeners, yes.
One of the first existential crises you have as a person is when you are becoming an adult and you get the like, okay, so you're 18-ish, you're not going to school, or maybe you just graduated from college, whatever else. And you're like, okay, now I'm going to do anything I want forever. And you have too much. Like there's too many choices. Some people are parents, some people are leaders in businesses, some people are leaders in local communities. And there's just this piece of everyone turning to you and saying, hey, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I am a dungeon master. I play Dungeons and Dragons. And while I love doing that, it's a fun little creative social hobby. It is people every week expecting you to be creative, have a thing set up, run the game, etc. I'm what's called a secondary leader. So if no one's set up to be a leader, then I'm the leader. And I'm a person who has this too much control thing all the time. I don't want to have this control. So first off, I would say completely valid, totally understandable. What I would talk about is paring that back a little bit. So two things within two things. A thing that I think is both, I don't know, dear viewer / listener, I hope this hits you well. We don't actually have control of anything. So finding ways to help your brain say, okay, what do I have to control? And then what can I let go of is a big part of this. At the end of the day, I'm in the market for a car because a while ago I bought a car, Kia Soul 2014 edition.
Is Kia Soul an actual car? I thought it was a lemon.
It's very lemon coated. It does leave a sour taste in my mouth.
Okay.
I got it repaired, and then a whopping 3 days later, I had to get it repaired again because it died on the road, on the highway. So it's been, I think not as fun as yours, Sam, but pretty fun. I should stop using fun sarcastically, but I can't. It's so fun. ? But my point being, like, I don't want to get screwed. And maybe you looked at me and you were like, that guy is a car guy. He knows so much about cars, which is just a fucking silly choice of you. No, I'm not a car guy at all. And I could get screwed by a mechanic and they could say, well, you need this thing with the boopometer. I'd go, okay, well, how much is that? Like $50,000. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I don't know what I'm doing. But if I try really, really hard to exert total control on this, I'm going to drive myself nuts and be fucking 8% more prepared. It doesn't really pay off the attempting to control ratio. So letting go of some of that control there can be really helpful of saying like, well, here's what the system that I recommend is, what is your value? What is the action your value tells you to do? So for me, my value would be like on freedom in this particular case. And they would say, you need to just get a car, man. Like you just got to do something. Sometimes with control, and this is one that I want to speak to, dear viewer / listener. I don't know if this is your thing or not, but feel free to send in more and specify because we genuinely do want to help. But if your thing is control of people, such a common frequent flyer on my caseload professionally is people who come in who are like, I have this pain because I have to make sure my kid is okay, my spouse is okay, whatever else. And there's this like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. Letting go of that's really healthy. So I'm going to give you a little pocket move. I brought this up on the show before, but it's so good for this. It's called cognitive defusion. Defusion takes two things and unfuses them. It's not diffusion. So you have a thought and you have a feeling. They show up together, they lock in, and the feeling makes the thought feel really true. So for instance, you wake up, you're dog tired, you have a long day ahead of you, you think, I can't fucking do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough, whatever. And you go, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that I'm not good enough. And I'm feeling that way, and it kind of blends this false legitimacy. In this case, we're going to use it to say, I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that I have to control this, and I'm going to let it go a little bit. So final thing, and then I'm going to shut up for a second, let Sam respond. The question, I believe the prompt was, what if I don't want to be in control? I would just speak directly to that. That's okay. That's okay. I think there's this pressure on us to like pursue control. And I don't know, it kind of parallels the pressure of pursuing having more things and being bigger and better and stronger and faster. There's actually a very healthy thing where people can say, I'm good. Like I don't need any more. And if you don't want to be in control because you're feeling burned out, that's answer A. I've been kind of speaking to that, first part. But the second part is, if you don't want to be in control, I just want to validate, like, that is totally appropriate. Humanity is a team sport, and having different people who can be in control at different times makes a really big difference. Giving people like the opportunity to let things be in control. So like, I feel a little retroactive guilt here because I didn't realize what kind of shit Sam was going through. And like I said, having a pretty tough week myself. And I was just struggling to get myself into this chair. And I turned over to Sam and Daniel on Friday to talk about scheduling the show. And I said, you guys, I don't know that I can do this. I can try for like Sunday early. Spoiler alert, that's when we recorded this. Shout out to Daniel for editing it late. But giving up that control felt like weird at first because I want to come through with the things I say I can control, but I couldn't. And letting other people drive the boat was really, really helpful for me. So if you're looking for a voice to just say it's okay, and then I would be happy to be one of those voices. You definitely don't have to be in control. It's certainly not a personality thing or thing to feel shame about. I feel like all the, like go conquer the world, young man kind of shit has really got into our heads about what we're supposed to do. And so far as pursuing that control, that's not even within that, right? So I serve a lot of people as a therapist, including people who are like just super powerful people with lots of money and responsibility and shit. And one thing that they often tell me is they're like, all day long, I work so hard to keep all these gears turning. And when the weekend comes and my phone rings, I just don't want to do it. And there's a piece there about boundaries and not having control. One of the things that I think is super helpful for anybody with any level of neurodivergence, but also frankly just people in general, is having structured, unstructured time. You just book time to not be in control. You just book time to not do anything and just kind of let yourself coast a little bit. It can do wonders. And it's so different than the reactionary version of it, which is like, I don't want to do stuff. I'm calling out today, which is not the same experience. That can end up being sort of not always healthy. Whereas planning it ahead of time, like, taking the classic mental health day, if you will, like that's actually very valid. So I hope some of that spoke to what you're looking for. And once again, thank you for the question. If you have any further follow-ups, I'd love to hear them. Other than that, I pass it back to Sam for any thoughts you may have.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of it. Yeah, it's totally okay to not want to be in control. It's totally fine if that works for you. I will offer one cautionary tale to be mindful of if we make the decision of, hey, I don't want to have any control over anything. Because I agree with John. We don't really have control over anything. Not really. We can influence a few things here and there, but even then, there's a very compelling argument that we don't have free will. Although we have to believe we have free will to keep moving on and all that stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson, all that good stuff. But I would caution us on one thing. If you make the decision that, hey, I don't want to be in control, and so I'm going to let go of control completely, you now are falling down one path, and one path which begets that all the external factors in your life rules your life. Whatever happens in front of me, that's the reality that I face, which can be incredibly meditative. It can be incredibly wholesome, except in some cases, I'd say about 50% of cases, you've reached a place in your life where you become incredibly frustrated and you don't know why. Because what happened is years ago, you made this choice. I'm just going to let the world dictate where I go. If I can't get this job, that's the job that I get. If I can't keep this friend, that's the friendship that I get. The world, I get whatever the world gives me. But then at some point, the frustration might build. And that's because we didn't give ourselves the opportunity to go, okay, you made the choice to let go of control. But if you'd taken the reins just a little bit, you might have been able to guide it in a different way. And you might be more satisfied with that. I say this to you in that way. I would hate for any person on this planet to be frustrated with their life and feel like they had no control over it. I'd be really upset for anyone. I'd be heartbroken for people that are miserable and unhappy because they're living a life they didn't choose to live for themselves. However, it's a totally different misery to have when you've made the decision to live the life the way you wanted to. And if things aren't going your way, that's one thing, but at least you're doing it your way. I was very fortunate in my young career to make that decision. And it was a decision. I had to do a hard pivot. I've had some successes. I've had some losses. But when I've had some losses, it's been like, well, at least it's on my terms. This sucks right now, but at least it's on my terms. Whereas before, when I had some losses and I made the choice that the universe just gives me whatever it gives me, I was even doubly frustrated and really angry and not happy. So everything John said is absolutely correct, but I would just caution that when you make that choice, which is totally valid, you can always take a course correction elsewhere, start reining in a little bit, making a couple of decisions that require some uncomfortable conversations and get you on that different path if you so choose.
I would kind of bounce off that, what Sam is saying. There's a concept called the locus of control, or if you're fancy in plural, it can be the loci of control. And there's really just the two. You either have an internal or an external locus of control. And what Sam is advocating for, and I'm putting words in his mouth, which is rude of me, but I'm doing it. So if I'm wrong, maybe he'll say something, but I don't think I am, is the the internal locus of control sort of, gives you the old Invictus, like I am the captain of my fate, I am the master of my soul. I kind of choose what happens to me. I'm in charge of my life. Turns out really, really healthy to have an internal locus of control, because even though, the winds of fate do buffet us around, there's a level of just like, you got to believe in yourself. It's a form of self-efficacy to think that you can have an impact. Sidebar, this correlates incredibly strongly with depression. If you do have depression, you have the opposite, which is an external locus of control. And your brain's like, I don't really have any fucking influence. I just kind of like get rolled over and shit happens to me and shit sucks. And I think I really wanted to kind of validate what Sam was saying. That is a very painful and risky thing to have. No one should feel bad if they feel that way. That's completely understandable for a lot of people, because the world will just friggin' kick you in the teeth, he said, with his car in the shop for the third time in a month. Mm-hmm. But like, at the same time, the reason that car got back to a shop instead of sitting in a lot is because I have good friends and because I did a thing, right? I'm not a hero on that, but I'm glad I did something, because I was beginning to give up. I was beginning to feel very powerless. Real quick thing though, just in case this lands with one of our listeners / viewers, there is a thing that is an overly problematic internal locus of control. So like, I'll have these people who I work with, and I'm thinking of a specific woman in general right now who I just fucking adore. She's so great. She's a super like high-powered go-getter, does a lot of like wonderful work, in charge of a zillion people. And then she came to see me because her family stuff was hard, because she was like, why are these kids this way? Like, what am I doing? And she's so kind. But she's taking responsibility for all of the things in her life, and she has to make sure everyone's okay. And that is also a trap. Because if anyone who's raised a kid, I haven't, but I've worked with a zillion parents, and I was a child once. You can be the best parent in the world. You can give that kid perfect information and give them the perfect opportunities. They're still going to do some weird shit. It's not your fault. That's okay. So finding that balance between internal and external, though I would say favoring internal, is a really, really important thing. And once again, I really am grateful for the question. This is like a fun segment. I don't know if you can tell, but like, I like doing this kind of thing. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that write-in. We appreciate it. Spurs some good conversation. Hopefully that helps out if you tuned in.
Mm-hmm. Also, if it doesn't, and you're like, that's not what I meant at all, you idiots, let me know, because I would love to
write it again and say, actually, yes, you guys were totally off.
You stupid men.
Way off base. Not what I meant.
Let me know.